Welcome to the Lindsay and Tony podcast, where we talk about spirituality, business, and life experiences.
In this podcast, we're bringing our private conversations to you.
We believe that it's through discussion, action, and reflection that true change occurs. Welcome to episode 152. It's easy to get clouded by fear and how to overcome it. In this episode, we touch on a lot of different topics when it comes to subliminal messages and information that's coming at us all of the time. And we would love to hear for yourself how you can move through these moments. We hope you enjoyed the show. Hi guys, welcome back. We're so excited you're here. Today's episode is all about how it's easy to get clouded by fear and how to overcome it. And Tony and I are coming to you from audio today. So if you're on YouTube, you're used to watching us. Today's episode is on audio. We are currently in our car. We are in Massachusetts. We're going to be doing our road trip back to Tampa soon. And Tony, wasn't this the perfect topic that we chose for today? We both agreed that this was it.
It is, because if you turn on your TV for 5 or 10 minutes, you'll start to see fear everywhere, especially on the news, what's going on in the world. And one thing we know about fear is that it starts to activate cells in our body. And over time, as we focus on fear thoughts and fear mental images, and we're in fearful environments, over time it starts to create dis-ease in our body, which manifests into disease. And we know that, you all know that, fear is not a good thing to continuously focus on. And we're not talking about the fear of sharks or the fear of spiders. Those are natural, normal fears. We're talking about the fear of even walking into a store or hanging out with your family members. Like ridiculous fears that are being put out there by the media and by all the mental images. And not just in 2020 and 21. This has been going on for decades, hundreds of years even.
And there's moments with subliminal messages on TV. I remember even waking up in the morning before I went to school, that there was always something happening on the morning news. Like maybe you heard about a fire from the night before, or maybe you heard of shootings in the neighborhood. And there's very minimal things that show the good things that are happening in the world. So it's important to pay attention to the subliminal messages. And I think the big thing is first of all, to be aware of the fear that's coming out into the world, no matter when it is. And think back to your life even as a child, or when you were in high school, and think about those moments where the TV was on and the current events came on the TV. What were the things that you were paying attention to? What really stuck with you? Because there's so many little messages sprinkled out into the world. And one of the things that I've been confused about is, why aren't there things out there that talks about the beauty of nature and the benefits of sun and air that we breathe? There's so much more out there that we should be being sprinkled into our news, especially right now too. Now, does this mean that you avoid everything, where you're not just you're focused on the positive, but you're not focused on what can actually happen? No, but be aware of the subliminal messages that have been coming out and being sprinkled in. Because when you have fear and intuition doesn't work together. So no matter what, your physical body will do different things in fear mode. And I think Dr. Joe Dispenza is a really good example of how the brain works and how the body works when it comes to fear and love.
Exactly. And he mentions, and a lot of the experts mention, that when we're in fear, we're in survival mode. I can remember going back to my first day of teaching in the public schools, and I go back to this story a lot because in that mode, I was in fearful mode to where I couldn't even think clearly. I was reactive. I wasn't processing everything in my environment. And I was very, very influenced by my environment. I could go back and remember how much more the environment impacted me when I was coming from that fearful space compared to when I feel like a clear channel and my energy's clear and I've been outside in nature and I'm tapped into my power. Then I'm able to come from a more powerful, intuitive space. And that's exactly what happened as my public school career started to unfold. I started to get comfortable. The fears that I thought were real like the fear that, wait, I'm an introvert, how am I going to go and be a teacher and talk to people all day long? I started to realize over time it was false evidence appearing real, that old acronym. Because as I put myself out there and I started to do things, I started to develop a new comfort.
Yeah, I totally agree. I feel like there's certain moments where you could think back to your life of moments that you did have a fear. Like maybe it's going, across the country. I remember going to Australia before I left for Australia. I got really sick. I actually got the shingles before I left for Australia. And there was a bunch of different factors there. It wasn't just because I was going across the country. I had a lot of stress in my life at that point. There was like emotional stuff that had taken place. There was the pressure of going to Australia and flying across the world to be doing a semester abroad. And even though I had the fear, I knew my soul needed to go and do it. But my physical body, I was having panic attacks too during that time because of the emotional stuff going on in my life and then knowing that I was leaving soon. So I think it's important to pay attention, and you can't really think clearly when that happens.
Yeah, and like you said, it starts to manifest physical manifestations in your body. Uh, Either pain in your back or shingles or um, some kind of skin rash or whatever it is. Fear energy is a lower vibrational energy. It's a toxic energy, and we're not saying not to trust anything that's being put out there into the world and on TV. What we're saying is to educate yourself in all aspects of your life, in all areas of your life. Don't just take our advice. Don't take one person's advice. Start to educate yourself, and more importantly, do the work to make yourself a clear channel. What kind of work is that? Well, it's different for everybody. And I believe that once you go into nature, once you stay on a physical exercise regimen on a weekly basis, and you eat the proper nutrition that you need, you drink enough water with electrolytes, you stretch your body, you do all the things that we were taught our entire lives to do, not just one day, not just one week, not just one month, but consistently over time, you start to become a clear channel. You start to dive into the more intuitive self. You start to dive into and come from a place of more power. And that's the point of this episode is we want to help people gain the insights, learn the knowledge, so that they can become a clear channel. Because when you're a clear channel, it's just like mediumship. When a past loved one comes through you, as you're a clear channel and you develop this skill, you just know. You don't have to explain it to nobody. You don't have to try to convince anybody. It's an intuitive knowing that the same way that I know that this cup of coffee that's in front of me is sitting here.
Yeah, it is. And it's kind of funny because on a logical level, it wouldn't even make sense. A lot of stuff, But on an instinctual level, you would just know. So I think the big thing is to think about how much of a percentage are you focusing in on fear, and how much of the percentage are you focusing on like living your life and doing what you can do to be in nature and to take care of your physical body. Because one of the things that I'm really big on right now is coming back inward. And it's just like what you just said, Tony, is trying to spend more time in nature. I actually had a dream the other day, and spirit guides started coming through, and they said that really we're not meant to live in houses. We're not meant to live inside of places, which is kind of interesting. We're meant to be outside more so. So it made me really reevaluate some things that I already knew in my head, but this feeling that I got, this overwhelming feeling, I knew how powerful it was for me to be outside, especially right now. So think about the percentage of time you are in fear mode, and think of the percentage of time you are in a space of love and happiness. And I'm saying love because I want you to think about those times where if you've ever fallen in love, they say that there's different things in the brain that get activated, these chemicals that get activated. Everything around you, even if you stub your toe when you were in love, most likely it wouldn't annoy you as much as if you weren't in love, because there's chemicals that are kind of reacting in your life. So I remember when I first met Tony, like anything could happen. It could have been a bad day or something, but I was in a different state of mind. So it's something to think about. You have to figure out how much of a percentage you're focused on the fear. And is fear a bad thing? No, it's not. It's just making you aware of things that are coming at you, and you have to decide, like, do I want to stay in this mode, or do I want to allow myself to get a little bit of break? Because that does affect your adrenaline too.
Exactly. And it's not about, we're not telling you, like you just said, to avoid fear. Fear is one of those things that no matter what work you do, personal development, spiritual work, it will keep coming up. What we're trying to do here is help you develop your self-awareness to where, so think about it. You brought up when you're in love with somebody. So I want you to think about this right now. Think about that feeling of being in love with somebody, or being in love with your career, or being in love with your son or daughter. What does that feel like? Think about that right now. How do you feel in your body? How do you feel in your heart? How do you feel in your overall energy? And then think about the opposite. Think about when you're fearful. How do you feel in your body? How do you feel in your heart? How do you feel in your overall energy? And as you start to do this on a daily basis, you start to increase your level of body awareness and your overall level of self-awareness. And as you do this, the same emotions, fear, love, anger, happy, sadness, all of those are going to come and go because you're a human. No matter what, they're going to come and go. You're living this human experience. You're a spirit, but you're a human as well. So it's all about bringing your self-awareness to this and acting from that space to where we're not getting into this world and we're reactive all day long. It's to where we're acting from a place of power.
Yes. I have a little task. So if you're listening to this and you're someone that does keep on the news or keeps on your news feed on Facebook or wherever you're at, take 4 days, 4 whole days where your TV shut off. If you talk to friends on the phone and it's fear mode and they're constantly talking about things that are bringing your awareness to like being scared, cut off those conversations for 4 days. News feed, start unfollowing things that are fear. Just for 4 days. Add to your life 30 minutes of direct sitting outside with your bare feet on the ground, the sun on you. Add more water into your diet during the day, and do something that's fun or makes you happy. That's it. Sounds like a lot. But really do that for 4 days and report back to us. Comment underneath this audio and let us know what happens. If you don't make it to 4 days and you make it to 3 days, do that too. But whatever you have for an experience, even if it's 1 day to start with, no news. Nothing on the moment you hear something on the radio that's fearful, you switch it. You add sun and nature, you put your feet on the ground on the bare feet. But also be aware of what you're putting into your body too. Adding things that are fresh. Eating, I was picking blueberries with my nieces the other day and eating fresh blueberries. Eating things from the garden. Paying attention to how your physical body is so strong. And it affects your mental state too. So adding these things in there. And if you have to put on a funny movie to get you in a happy mood, then do that. And by the way, the worst thing you could do is fake being happy, and resisting through fear and really being scared. Don't do that. That's the worst thing that you could do. If you're feeling fearful naturally, write everything down. Get it on the paper. But then also think about ways that you can be in a state of more of like a Zen space for a longer period of time than maybe what you've been used to. Because a lot of people are running off of adrenaline right now. They're exhausted. They're burnt out. Their intuition is completely not even showing up the way that it could.
I love all those suggestions. And another thing you could do is create a simple T-chart. It looks like a cross. On the left side, write healthy fears. On the right side, write unhealthy fears. And as you're going throughout your day, as you're living your life, continuously add to this chart. And I want you to write down all of the healthy fears that you have. Like I think one of my healthy fears is we were just in Cape Cod. A healthy fear for me is there's great white sharks in the ocean. So a healthy fear, I follow that and I don't swim too far out in the ocean. I'll kind of put my feet in and all that. To me, that's a healthy fear. An unhealthy fear for me would be, oh, this action of inspiration comes in for me to do the next step in my business, and I have a fear in it and I don't follow it. To me, that would be an unhealthy fear if I don't follow that. So I want you to think about all of your healthy fears and all of your unhealthy fears and start to log them onto the chart. And what this will do over time is it'll develop your awareness around this. And when you develop and increase your level of awareness, your whole life starts to transform.
It really does. And I love the T-chart idea because it's really powerful, getting everything on paper out of your head onto the paper. This is another thing that I need to tell them because it's so important. It came to me as we've been talking on this podcast, and I kind of want to leave you off on this. Before you go to bed tonight, ask yourself the question, what is the truth that I need to see through all of the fear? What is the truth I need to see through all the fear? And allow yourself to go to sleep and wake up with possible messages or dreams or feelings when you wake up. So do that tonight. Get your own messages. I've been doing a lot of communication and with the spirit realm and communication with my own soul and getting some really interesting, intuitive, psychic messages. But I feel like this is a time to get them for yourself. So ask yourself that question before you go to bed tonight and see what comes up. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did. If you liked it, leave a 5-star review on iTunes, and remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel too.
If you can think of anyone else that would love this episode, share it with them right now on social media or email. And remember, getting results is a process of learning, applying, and reflecting. Stay consistent and continue to grow every day.